Sebastian Vettel names 5 rivals for Lewis Hamilton, throws shade at Max Verstappen. Vettel is hoping to end Ferrari's 12-year championship drought, but he had problems at the season-opening Australian Grand Prix. The German surrendered third place to Max Verstappen to finish fourth. However, he feels he will be in with a chance of silverware come the end of the campaign. Vettel also thinks Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly and Verstappen will be in the running. I can only speak for myself, but I think there are 3 large teams again and all those teams have enough potential to take the world title this year, Vettel said. We look at ourselves first and we are hopefully faster than everyone else, but I think it will be very tight. Red Bull new boy Gasly had a disappointing race in Melbourne as he finished outside the points in 11th place. And Vettel claims the youngster drove just as well as teammate Verstappen. I think that Pierre had a little bad luck on Saturday, added Vettel. I think he did no worse than Max Verstappen seen over the entire weekend. I think that all 6 drivers of the top teams will get involved in the fight. Hopefully, we can continue to fight as long as possible to make the decision later in the season. Meanwhile, Hamilton was glad to see Verstappen beat Vettel. It's great to see the improvement that it's had for the team, Red Bull, he explained. Obviously they were with Renault for such a long time, and obviously they were able to pass a Ferrari. I think it's awesome. Next news: F1 2019. Sebastian Vettel talks up Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc. 4-time champion says new teammate will put him under pressure in battle for supremacy at Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel believes Charles Leclerc has already shown he will put him under pressure throughout 2019 at Ferrari. Vettel out-qualified and finished ahead of Leclerc at last weekend's season-opening Australian GP, but the youngster ended up on the 4-time champion's tail in the race, and was told over the radio to drop back in the closing stages. Vettel had already predicted in pre-season that Leclerc would represent a full rival in their first year together and, in the wake of Melbourne, the German says the 21-year-old is expecting a fierce battle. He's done really well from what I've seen so far and he will put a lot of pressure on me the whole season, said Vettel. I'm aware of that and it will be very close. I'm sure we will have tough and tight battles this year, but more than anything I hope we have a lot of fun together. Ferrari's Leclerc verdict: small mistakes in Q3 and the first stint of the race put Leclerc on the back foot in his battle with Vettel, with Ferrari generally performing well below their own expectations after topping winter testing. But although the team's failure to finish on the podium went down as a big disappointment, Ferrari chief Mattia Binotto was happy with Leclerc's debut showing. I'm happy the way he is behaving as a team player, not only as a driver. He is very helpful for the team and very involved, trying to do his best and pushing the engineers hard and himself to have a better car, said Binotto. If you judge his entire weekend, it was a pretty strong one. His quali wasn't perfect, he's aware of it, but he drove well in Q1 and Q2. He had a good weekend and I'm happy with the way he approached the first race. He's at the starting point and it's a good starting point. Next news: Zak Brown, McLaren may consider their F1 future without changes. Team's chief executive believes that a meeting this week must deliver better competition if the sport is to flourish. Zak Brown has warned that McLaren, second only to Ferrari in terms of seasons on the grid, would consider quitting Formula One if the sport's problems are not addressed this season. 12 months ago in Bahrain, F1's owner, Liberty Media, revealed its vision of how motorsport's elite competition would look in 2021. On Tuesday, Liberty meets the governing FIA and all 10 F1 teams in London to begin the process of putting that blueprint into practice. Time is against them, however, with June seen as the deadline to agree new racing regulations and a fresh commercial agreement, possibly even a cap on team spending, if they are to come into effect in 2 years' time. For McLaren it has to tick 2 boxes: to be financially viable and to be able to fight fairly and competitively. Brown, the team's chief executive, says, "If it wasn't that, we would seriously have to consider our position in F1. That's not a position we want to be in." People throw it out there as a negotiating tactic, but this has to be a fiscally responsible, competitive racing team, and, if we feel the new rules don't put us in that situation, we would have to review our participation in F1. Last year Liberty set out the broad brush strokes of what they want to achieve: a budget cap, fairer revenue distribution, while recognizing the historic position of some teams, power units, new regulations and governance. On Tuesday the detail is expected, and Brown is optimistic they will have got it right. His goal is leveling the F1 playing field, skewed by disproportionate spending by Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull. He broadly supports Liberty's direction, but it is the agreement to a new commercial arrangement that is most urgent and tricky. The current agreement runs out at the end of 2020, and signing up to a new one will require acquiescence to spending reductions and fairer revenue distribution. The latter has long been a thorny issue and will not be easily solved. Under the last deal, Ferrari received an estimated $68 million bonus for taking part, with Red Bull and Mercedes also receiving additional payments of $35 million. All 3 teams and McLaren also received an estimated $30 plus Constructors' Championship bonus payment. But Brown believes this is not the way to create a fairer competition. Revenue distribution should be more balanced, should be performance-oriented, he says. To a lesser degree than today, there should be recognition for your history. We all agree Ferrari is the biggest name and should be remunerated as such, but not at the level that it is, and you also should not be able to put that money into the racing. McLaren are rebuilding. Last season they finished 6th in the constructor classification. Brown, an American with a background in sponsorship, looks to the NFL model of total parity, noting that the Super Bowl still features a diversity of teams. Once it is leveled, that should accelerate everyone's competitiveness, he says. F1 has had dominant periods, but a great F1 is no one dominates anymore. It might mean a team winning 2 championships on the trot, not 5 or 6. Once spending caps are imposed, he argues, the regulations should be relaxed, allowing teams to spend more on innovation. The difficulty, of course, is that not everyone thinks the same way. Red Bull's Christian Horner has warned that their owner, Dietrich Mateschitz, could pull out if F1's new direction is not to their liking. Mercedes' Toto Wolff has repeatedly questioned whether budget caps are enforceable. Renault, however, believe the budget cap, governance and revenue distribution are far more urgent than sporting regulations. Then there are Haas, the American team that use Ferrari parts. It is this B-team model that independents such as McLaren object to. Building more of the racing cars themselves is set to change, and that would affect their business model. All of which suggests some long, hard talking ahead. But Brown is confident that, while the action resumes on the track in Bahrain next week, a successful agreement will have been forged. I am optimistic that everyone will participate, he says. There will be fireworks between now and then. It's negotiation, but I am optimistic F1 will do the right things and sign up all 10 teams, and we will have a much better, more competitive F1 from 2021 onwards. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.